Good
Good
morning.
morning.
How you doing?
Fantastic. How you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Doing okay. Still in
Cheers, cheers.
recovery.
Yeah, getting better though.
I think so. I'm here.
You made it? We made it. We made it. We made it.
We did. We did. We did. So the dad, what's the topic this week, my man? What are we talking about?
Staying healthy. What we do food wise and routine wise and exercise, mental health, all that stuff. What we do with ourselves to stay healthy, I think, is a really important topic.
I agree.
That's always a battle.
Do you guys have a guilty food pleasure that's not healthy? That when you go in the grocery store and you see it, you kind of like urge yourself towards wanting to buy it. Do you guys have anything like that? Like a craving style of a constant food group?
Can I go first, the dad?
Yep, mine's Ben and Jerry's. And that came from trying to gain weight, but it's still like back when I couldn't gain weight, and that happened for 20 years. But I would eat a tub of Ben and Jerry's after working out, after going to Subway, and that was my bedtime snack. So probably not the healthiest. And still to this day, it's my go-to for, your comfort food and, trying to replenish somehow, thinking that's still okay, but it's not in that quantity, really.
Hmm. It's a good question. Is anything that's like against my diet fits into that category, which is huge. Like that could be such a big, wide open category for me.
So you
Because
don't have
basically,
like a specific thing?
no, like so like anything that I can't. So like even like it'd be something even weird like a burger. To most people they wouldn't think and they'd be like, "Oh, well you could just there's gluten-free like buns and stuff like that, right?" But nothing beats like just a traditionally made like hamburger with a wheat bun and everything like just, you know? And so like there's stuff like that, but then there's also like pizza. So there's like all sorts of foods that like, I could go on for an hour, but they don't fit into my diet. So anything outside of what I'm normally allowed to have lets me feel that enjoyment. I mean, I know I'm gonna get punished later, but I mean, get away with it for a little bit.
For me, mine is Skittles. It doesn't even matter what flavor of Skittles. Ever since I was a little kid, Skittles were my thing. And now I can't have them anymore because they're like pure sugar. I could have half of one. That's it. But, just imagine you sitting there in your coffee, like on your counter, and just being like, "I'm just gonna have one," cutting it in half, and just be like shaking to your mouth and being like, "This is like the best Skittle of life." You can have one a month. Um, that's it for me. I miss them, and every time I go through the candy aisle, it's like, oh, just just one. Just can I have one?
So you
No,
only get a glimpse of the rainbow. You don't get to taste the rainbow.
not anymore. No, I like the segue. That was cute.
Interesting. I like that. I like that. Yeah, I'm telling you guys, I can't. I don't have like a specific like. I don't think I'd be able to get down to like a specific food. I see certain foods that I can't have, and I'm just like I just want it because I can't have it. It's like typical human pressures to have things that you can't have. It's just about anything. As soon as you tell you could eat something for forever and never really think anything of it, and then all of a sudden you can't have that anymore. You're like, but I love this, right? And I think there's some things in our life that I think we all have some things in our life, right, that are like that.
So the key here is moderation, usually. So um, to eat healthy, it isn't necessarily to cut out, the potato chips, the ice cream, the things like that, unless you specifically need that. Like Zen, for you, for example, you have very specific needs. But in a general sense, for eating healthy, it's about comboing, your proper amount of protein, your proper amount of carbohydrate, your proper amount of like your vegetables that gives you like your minerals and things like that. So balancing that out is probably the most ideal way of being able to function properly, and that's better health. So you don't get as sick as often, right? I'm sick right now, which is the first time this year, right? It's now September, so doing pretty good for that. And that's something that I got taught like 5 years ago, is about balancing out all of those categories and making sure that you're getting the proper amounts of nutrients per meal, right? Because that's also super important about keeping yourself balanced.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I asked you guys for your worst meals. What is your most favorite meal that you like to go to? And like what's in it? For example, I'll start. My favorite is like it's rice and chicken with mushroom soup. I don't know why I like it so much, but it's one of my all-time favorites. Where you make the soup and you turn it into like a little casserole, then you add mushroom soup as a base inside, and then you put your chicken on top, and you just put foil on top of that, some salt and pepper, and then bake it. And I don't know why it's so good, but like it comes out like super crispy and delicious. And for me, it has the proper amounts of the two ingredients, right, which is my protein and carbohydrates. And then I usually add either a side salad or mixed vegetable. And that's probably one of my most favorite meals that I go through, because like when it comes out, it's all crispy, it's delicious. It's not too high in fat. It's pretty balanced.
Interesting.
Do you guys have a favorite meal like that?
I don't know if it's a balanced meal, but I mean, I definitely love my breakfast, and I'll go as crazy as I can go, right? But yeah, I just love my some sort of like turkey. I just love a high protein meal. I find that like a really healthy thing for one of your first meals of your day. Anyways, it carries you a long time, and especially for someone who sounds weird, but I don't really like eating. Like I don't really like the whole idea around eating or prepping food or anything anymore, because that enjoyment's just been taken away, which is fine. So I just look at it as like a how can I get the most amount of enjoyment out of like the same meal every day too, because that's something that I'm able to eat every day. Um, and yeah, I just love having like, turkey bacon, turkey sausage, some eggs, some hash browns. Love to have like a banana, or like I have some grapes or something. Like I'll snack on that usually while I'm making my breakfast. But yeah, that's something that fortunately I'm able to eat every day. And then, it's easy to make too. That's the other thing. You got to remember is the easy to make. I think that helps with like a favorite food, especially when it's homemade. The easy prep is always like the what stands out, right? Because it's like I enjoy eating it, but what's my access to these things, right? Like how easily can I make them? How easily can I get the stuff to make them? Because sometimes it's easy to make, but it's expensive to buy. So, as long as you can balance those things, that's I think one of something that I'll be able to continue to eat too, which is nice. So it gives you that feeling of that those foods won't all of a sudden start causing you more and more trouble as you continue. It's like a staple to my day.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum, whereas I eat a lot. Like I eat a lot of everything. Um, and I eat as far as a favorite goes, it's the next thing I cook. That's People ask me all the time what my favorite food is, because I cook on here a lot. It was lasagna for a while, and I made my very first lasagna not too long ago. But
Mm.
like my lasagna was just last week. I put shredded chicken in it and beef and uh, pepperoni. And like for the ricotta mix, I used, instead of cutting up vegetables, I used spinach dip because that's got all the other stuff in it. So I mixed that stuff together, and then three different types of cheese and like all these layers, and pre-cook the noodles so I could actually cook it on live. And it's just like it's I always make too much because it's just me, but I like the whole process of taking a recipe and then doing whatever with it. It's kind of like making it your own. Just throwing whatever is around or in the fridge and then seeing what works. I think that's my new favorite food. Anything that I can come up with.
So right now, I'm gonna go drive to the dad's house because lasagna is my all-time favorite food of all time, and you made that sound super delicious.
I have half of it frozen because I made the big tray. I can't. I got tired of,
Hmm.
like, it's so good. It's really good. Like best lasagna I've had in my entire life. But there's limits. Like when you have it for dinner and then you go, oh, what should I have for lunch? Well, I have lasagna made. And then for dinner, you're like, should I really keep eating that lasagna? There's enough for a whole family. Yeah, I probably should. And then I froze the rest because I'm like, this is day two of 2.5 meals a day of lasagna. As much as I love it, I don't want to get sick of it.
Not to mention the amount of carb in lasagna is pretty high.
I'm pretty immune to like the macros and the micros and all that stuff. It just whatever my body. I've gotten to that point where I can pretty much eat whatever I want, and it's okay. My body will start to tell me if something's not, and I just kind of adjust. But I don't really have a set diet except for the high in protein stuff, but like carbs and sugars and all that salts. It doesn't seem to really affect me in any way anymore. It used to. Now not so much.
What'd you do to change that?
Stop stressing was a big part. Stopped one of my habits that I had for a long time. Um, and that was, I think I did that for over 30 years. So makes everything stink, stains your fingers, stains your teeth, that habit. Um, I think that's probably a big contributing factor, but like I did that years ago. Stress was the huge factor. Just try and cut as much of that out as you can and get to that point where you go, okay, what now? And that seems to help with my gut health. Huge. So I'd be afraid to go out for dinner. You go have your, like, I couldn't have ribs for some reason. Ribs was a trigger and caused things, and now like you guys haven't caught my lives, but some interesting concoctions. Like I went to Costco and got avocado mayo and tuna. They had it on samples, so I bought it. And then when I came home, I had to finish off my hot dog buns before they went bad. So I made one of the big sausages on a bun and mixed up some tuna with some avocado mayo, and then added some sriracha to it, and then added crushed Doritos on top, and then cheese on top, and then baked it. So it was just this big thing, and yeah, it was good. Who would have thought to add that to a sausage? But fantastic.
Food.
Yeah.
Funny you bring up stress because I'm like, I don't think I could ever get stress out of my life. What I do for a living is like stress times 1,000 all the time. So I'm like thinking to myself, going, how am I going to cut that out? Right? I don't think I'll ever be able to.
So do you have like I was like trying to figure out, even for myself, right? Part of like health and disconnecting, recharging, and not only food, but like, what about physical spaces? Do either of you have? So we have like so the way I was like looking it up is like we have like our first place, which is like our home, the place we spend like our primary, and then we have work, wherever that might be, mobile, whatever, right? But you're still not home. That's your next kind of, it's probably some people are might be in a vehicle all the time. Some people are in at a desk, wherever, right? But that's your second. So my question is, either of you, but what's your third, let's do like your third place. What's your like personal kind of sanctuary? Where do you go for that part of yourself to kind of for your own health and to kind of get away.
You want to take that bite?
So I have two different things. For when I'm feeling angry or stressed, I usually go to a rage room and throw things around and break things,
Okay.
which is kind of fun. If I'm looking for serenity and grounding, I usually seek out like lavender or lilac trees. My city has a lot of them around, which is kind of nice.
Okay.
And if you sit underneath them, the scent or the smell from them calms me down.
Hmm. How'd you find that? Or how'd you figure that out?
Just walking in the woods one day, and then I just was like walked by a tree, and then all of a sudden was like, one moment I was anxious, the next moment I was not, and I was like, what just happened to me?
Cool.
And then I noticed the tree, and then I looked up what its type was, and like all of that stuff, and what its properties had, and yada yada yada.
Okay. I like that. That's really neat.
It's different to figure out what triggers us visually, auditory, smell, all that stuff. You never know, right? Come across something and you just react someday.
That's why I have a tree in my backyard now, like I planted.
Oh, I like that. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
What about you, the dad?
I had a sauna. It was the sauna, and then I sold the sauna, and I bought a bike because I missed having a bike. So I think maybe even if I'm upset, that seems to help. Anywhere down by the water, like if you've seen any of the pictures that I have on my page or the videos, it's anywhere down by the water. But I think the bike over that because I'll take the bike to those places, but the ride there is normally what sets the mind in whatever mood it needs to be.
Okay. That's neat. I like that.
It's noisy and chaotic, and there's lots coming at you, and there's lots going around. But for some reason, that makes everything calm. It's just that you're not in a cage and you're just going. Wind in my hair.
Yeah. Not saying I've had that experience, but I can understand that free feeling, I guess, right? I guess you could describe.
Mhm.
Not really worrying about anything behind you, just have to really focus on what's in front of you too, especially on a bike, right? As much as you get experience with riding, right? Like bike tire hitting something is a lot different than four car tires. We'll be a little bit more careful with the road.
Yeah.
But that just saying, right? That's part of that chaos that keeps you distracted, right? Of all the things that you kind of don't even get with a car, right? That safety net is kind of a little bit different than when you drive a car, even especially once the speed rises, right? Like highway speeds in a car against a bike. So I can see the mechanic side too, right?
Mhm.
The loud the loud does a lot. Whereas for me, loud like drives me crazy, like long term, the noise. Like even working in a dealership, right? Like a bunch of guys running around, doors open, slamming doors, hammers, like a bunch of it's that randomized chaos that never let me relax. So what was interesting though was once I moved to this place, my garage became my third place. So that's an easy place that I love nature. I love going for walks. I love doing all of that. But usually I get I don't have a favorite trail is the best way to say it. I don't have anywhere near where my favorite place to walk over and over, so I have to plan more of an outing. Whereas my garage is somewhere where it's 100 steps away and it's a different environment. As soon as I close the door, it's insulated so I don't hear things outside. It's away from the road. There's just things that for me it's the opposite of the dad, right? It goes to if I want quiet, I can have quiet, no animals, nothing can kind of get in my space. So I can create that bubble where I know no one's going to intrude on it. I guess is the other thing. No one's going to just all of a sudden open the door suddenly. And that to me is allows me to maybe that sense of safe or that safe bubble that you get to operate within. And then allows my thoughts to kind of creep in for a little while. And that's where I'll find myself, unfortunately, doom scrolling and whatever, but I can find that's a good place that like I know I can go out to disconnect. You know, you can walk away and even just being in the garage, um, not even having to do anything. Like I have a couch in there and I can just sit down on that couch and enjoy. So I find that pretty lucky. It's not many people have like another structure that's separate from their house on their property.
It's interesting, like thought that comes up when I hear you guys talk about the different places that you need to go. And it's how do you get to that point? How do you like? What are the factors that let you know that okay, this is I need to go for a walk? One because it's healthy. Two because it's I need to be outside or I need to be in that safe place because like my living room, it's pretty dark. That's where my setup is with my TV. That's where I do my lives when I do music. But just beside that, I have a couch that is fantastic, and that's where my dogs lay as well. So that's my comfy, quiet, shut out the world spot because it's so dark in that room. Like if I were to walk in there, you guys wouldn't be able to see me, and it's bright and sunny out. So that's my shutdown, whether it's daytime or nighttime. Whereas if I think I need to recharge or, get healthy in a different way, I go outside on the bike or I do something physical. So it's interesting to see that you guys have different spots without actually saying you have those different spots for those reasons. What do you think that not trigger, but what do you think the steps are to process to get to that point where you decide which one you need?
Mm. For
Hmm.
me, I just the garage is always like that one spot. Like it's like a go-to, like a default. Like to get to option B, A has to not be available, and that's kind of like a rare thing. So my garage has blackout curtains over the window, and then I have some lights in the garage. And the way they're run is as soon as kind of the door's closed, the outside environment is like gone. So I no longer like if I spent 12 hours in that garage and didn't have a clock, and let's say you woke up confused, no clock, and no ability to look outside of that room, you wouldn't know what time of day it was. And so almost like by design with your dark room, and I think that helps me shut out the world because like my sense of time can go away as well. So it just lets me just be. And that's usually what gets me there is I realize I haven't taken a break in a long while and I need to just you need to move not just move around, you just need to change scenery. I spend a lot of time in this room. Like probably like the most in this I probably like this is my work and my relax kind of thing, right? Like it's like my home, my work. I play video games in here. Like I do everything So when I come in this room, it's a very like chaotic space. It's not divided. So that's what my trigger kind of gets to. It's like I don't know if I want to play video games. I don't know if I want to do any more. I don't really know what I want to do because I always have a task that needs to be done, and there's always things that can be added. So usually the trigger becomes, am I starting to get overwhelmed? And then it's like, yes, overwhelmed. Okay. Well, the default spot is the garage because I can go out there and it's a completely different environment and just disconnects me from inside. Because there's no way I have the same like computing power, no way I have like my camera, my setup. The most I can take is my phone kind of thing with me. So it kind of can only pick up so much of this room and take it with you. And so that allows me to simplify my setting. So I guess I'm going after like a simpler, quieter setting.
For me, I'm the opposite. I like the sun when I'm feeling like that. I don't like to like darken the room. I much rather like have the beams of light hit me, soak into my skin, and feel that energy. My triggers are usually when I find that I get snippy with people sometimes if they're like super sarcastic or whatever. And that's usually a sign that I need to go recharge. Um, that, or I feel like I hear my heartbeat in my ear. You know, that's another sign for me to just be like, okay, you need to exit whatever situation you're in and go take some time for yourself because otherwise, you know, you're going to be at your top and your tolerance level will fall.
Hmm, I like that. So my reasoning for not the sunlight is because it allows me to disconnect even at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So as much as I like love the sun and walks, my way of keeping my environment stable, like for me as a difference, my reasoning behind that, as much as I love the sunlight, is there's been times when I'm like at 2 a.m. and it's like, what do I do? And that was like one thing that took me away from my walk, like my like forest or outing walks, which is interesting because like you and I are like opposite that way, right? I like that.
There's that option A, option B scenario. Like if it all went away, what would we do? Like if we didn't have the things that we have now, what would be our spot, our go-to? Like if I didn't have a house, I had somewhere else, would I try and recreate something similar or would I adapt and find something completely new that's we never know till we get there, but
Hmm. That's a good question. Thinking about myself, I've always had like a room environment, like wherever I spend the most time is usually around my computer. Just because of at one point at one point it was studies, then it was away from studies, and even though there's like mechanics, I'd come home, I'd play video games, right? Try to unwind or do something a little different. I've always been wrapped around my computer, so even at my last apartment, still found myself in that room where so like I think by me, by patterns alone, I think if I were to move again, I think I would probably recreate this space again, adapting to, the new, you know, the new environment. But I think I it wouldn't be far off like this same kind of feel, like an open feel that I'm able to be productive in and relax to try to bridge those two always. I think the balance of the two is hard.
yeah, it's funny because now you've said that my last place and the place before this, I had a very similar living room, and it was just like a couch, either a big couch or an L shape, but it was focused on the TV, and it's either video games or now I don't play video games. It's YouTube or TikTok, and it's centered around that spot where there's kind of almost a facing a little bit off to the side spot that's quiet, and then there's a spot that's focused on the TV or whatever I'm staring at the time. It's like we inadvertently recreate as we go along that space that we're most comfortable in.
Yeah, you almost wonder, like being such a creature of habit, whether that's like an actual positive thing long term, or if not freshening up the space continuously is holding you in like holding you level in some space. Like, is it grounding you, or is it holding you back, or is it a bit of both?
Yeah, because you see Bite thinking about it, like, hey, maybe wait a minute, like I can see the wheels turning, but like just now, me thinking about that, do we create as we walk into a new place? Do we think, oh, I can make what I used to have there, no problem? Is that our like barrier to entry for buying a new place or moving into a new place? Can I bring that comfort with me and put it here? And yeah, is it healthy or not?
What do you think, Bite?
I don't think I've ever done that. And every place I've lived has always been different. Like, I mean, I always have a couch, I always have a TV, right? But nothing is usually the same. Like, I don't purposely being like, this has got to be in this corner, this has got to be in that corner, it's got to look like this, it's got to be like that. I don't, I don't think I've ever done that.
Really? Do you think you've done it like subconsciously?
Well, that's what I was thinking about, but I've got an envisionment of every place I've ever rented, and it's all different.
Hmm. Whereas for me, I set up everything the same almost all the time. Like I have a very, but I don't know if that's part of the mechanic in me too, because I started being that guy where everything has its place in its place. Like that's the way you're, like even for visuals, right? Like, because when you take a customer's car apart and you put it back together, if they're to open that hood and start seeing things misaligned and stuff that not the way they were, like things have to be visually intact to the way you found them. So you get used to having like a structure. So I wonder for me if it's part of take take setup down, move setup over to new place, reset up everything again, if that just comes with that process of constantly R&R and having to stick to the exact way things were. And maybe, I don't know, I think maybe that has to do with some of the influence for me.
Call it the rolling toolbox theory, because you take your
Yeah.
toolbox with you and it's set up the same way no matter what the environment, right? But yeah,
It's kind of how I feel. Just because of how I think it's also because of like we don't like the number of tools you have to use that have to stay organized all the time. Like I saw someone the other day, I was actually watching a live stream and they opened their toolbox drawer. Funny, we're talking about that, right? And I'm talking sockets and wrenches and everything falling all over each other in the same drawer. And I looked at that and I just like, anxiety is all over me. Like I can't even look at that, like um that for me was like a huge, and that kind of resonates right now when it comes to my setup. There's certain parts of my setup that have to be in line to keep me happy. And I guess that brings comfort.
Where me, I'm the opposite. Like I can go into my office right now and be like, I'm gonna move my monitors from the left to the right. I'm gonna, have it standing today and sitting tomorrow. Like I don't. For me, none of that stuff really affects me.
Hmm. What about your bed? Like if you moved your bed and bedroom to another room, would you put the your nightstand on the same side, or
No,
not even bed relative to like a window?
nope. I've I often change my room around quite often.
Which is
Sometimes I'll throw
healthy.
the bed like against the wall. Sometimes I'll put it in the middle of the room. Sometimes it'll be on the opposite wall.
Hmm.
see that might be his comfort right there, not having things the same,
Yeah,
nothing too
chaos.
stagnant.
Well, or just it is part of mental health to move like one thing in a room, like really keeps your mindset fresh. So maybe for you, you just like moving more than one thing at once all the time, just like doing it faster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're just gonna, dump this room upside down today. Oh, we're on the ceiling today.
But if that's what allows you to enjoy your primary environment, you kind of have to. You have to play into those comforts, or else, part of your health isn't. You're not going to maintain health without those things. And just because I like things being in the same place all the time doesn't mean that's the right way. That just fits for my. That just works for me.
My previous partner wanted to change the bedroom around, and I said okay because that's what okay. And then when I came back and it was changed around, I went, oh, that's nice. Absolutely not liking any part of it, and it driving me nuts that the bed was in a different spot and my wardrobe was in a different spot, and I'm like, yeah, it's fantastic, but it didn't. I should say it didn't deter me from spending more time in the bedroom. It kind of did because I'm like, I don't like to set up with the bed against the wall like one of us was against the wall. Now it's just me. I can put it however I want, but at the, I think there's something comforting in not changing stuff the way that I think about it. Because even when I go to change my room around, like I changed my setup around not too long ago, and I sat down and looked at it and went, I don't like it. And I put it all back the way it was. It took me like an entire day to take it all down and move it to the other side of the room and have a different background. And I'm like, nope, don't like it. And it was just a comfort thing. I'm used to, like, this is where I stand here. They get the same view every time when I'm cooking, and the view in there is the same, just little upgrades every now and then. That's it.
I think that's part of our mechanical nature. It's just like it's because of I think there's a specific way that a lot of our career is routed, like like even though you take apart different things all the time, I think there's that same process that goes with that I feel like I don't know many mechanics that I can think of that enjoy like a chaotic counter, for example, which would relate to a chaotic bench at work, you know? And I think it just might be the number of detailed items that normally have to stay organized, not the complexity of the work, but the complexity of the things that are coming off, like that you normally remove or move around to do the work. And maybe that has to play into. I'm trying to figure out the difference because like with Bytes work, like it's very technical too, right? My
Yeah, there's
curiosity is like, what's your work?
pistons.
Yeah, and very different systems all the time too. And so my question is like for Byte is what in comparison to okay, so your home environment moves around, and then we know your third. So then what's like a workplace environment like in terms of like organization and
Everything has a bin. So, like, if I'm working on a laptop, the outside screws get a bin. The inside screws get another bin. The hard drive screws get another bin. And then each component, so like the plastic casing, gets into the same space as the first bin, so they're together, so that everything can be put back the same way, so that you're not missing a screw, you're not, you know, forgetting something, or it doesn't get threaded properly. Um, and I'm kind of like that with pretty much everything. Like even if it's digital, I kind of go in like, okay, in chronological order. This has got to be done, then this, then this, then this, and this, and this, and this. It's kind of why I like my job, actually. It's because it can be done in a list with a verification. Works or it doesn't.
yeah, just the health and the habitual part, right?
Yeah, and I've been doing the same style of job pretty much my entire career. So
So there it
you're
is.
25 plus
Right.
doing it this way.
I like that. No, I like that because I think part of our ability to recharge is being aware of our environments. So, what allows us to, a workplace, hard to ask you what allows you to rest at a workplace, right? That's not really, it's kind of a backwards question, right? But in terms of your house, how do you conduct your workspace, right? Then to allow that third place, which allows like the recharge, right? And so I think those three, being aware of all three of those components are important to that balance, right? Because I mean, if you have one of those environments that's severely not in line with who you are, your ability to recharge is going to be extremely affected, right? So I think it's important to for us to be aware of our environments in that relation to our well-being, or should I say
I
the
think that
connection to our well-being.
that has merit though. I think how do you recharge or what comforts you at work? Because the work environment as well, there has to be like if you came in, your bench was destroyed and tools everywhere. Same with bite. Like if your bins were, full of stuff that was left over from other jobs, like maybe somebody had cross contaminated somehow your stuff, that would add a level of what the heck. Like there's your stress. So I think that same comfort can translate into your work environment too. Like there's all those factors that can make that a not comfortable place to be, but we set it up and we continue to do that routine there as well, subconsciously, so that it's, depending on how we feel about our careers, bearable or comfortable or enjoyable. There's limiting factors to the amount of stuff that we add in there as well, right?
Yeah, a good
Like
evaluation.
organized toolbox.
Yeah, because that's something that, if I've got tools out on a cart for too many days, for example, at a workplace, just because you've been going crazy, yeah, you're not going to get that sense of calm that you'd normally get at a workplace. So I can see that that definitely has a
For
top.
me, it's either way because sometimes I go into clients' places and it's a disaster, right? I don't get to choose necessarily how my workbench is going to be. Not necessarily. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Depends, right? Like I'll get calls from people I've never met before. You're like, come help me, I'm drowning. Okay. Come there, evaluate the situation, and evaluate the workbench, and then adjust accordingly.
Is there something that you take along with you though, like a specific toolkit that you've set
I
up, whether it's in
no
here or it's physical?
a laptop and a screwdriver set. I'm in like a universal screwdriver set. That's all I usually use.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's where like I wasn't trying to avoid the technical part of your job because there's more of a technical part of your job that you can't see, right? Whereas like if you were to visually watch a mechanic or watch someone take something apart, there's to a level where I think the complexity also lies sometimes in automotive is the depth of the disassemble or the depth of diagnosis, right? Which sometimes even electrical you can't relay. And I think I'm trying to find I'm just trying to find like a connect like a contrasting point between like the two that highlights like the both. Because like organization
Panicking.
well, because like organization is still a huge thing that all three of us would need at like everyone that and even all our listeners, organization is something at a workplace that can never be ignored, right? And that's why I'm trying to find that connection where there's because both are very technical. It's apples and oranges, right?
It's really good to talk about because it helps you get down to what one of my questions was what are your processes? What are your processes to get to that point where Like it's like diagnosing a problem. What's your process for diagnosing the problem and then coming up with a solution as far as your health? Like you find there's something in your health, whether it's your mental or your physical, it's going to affect each other, whether it's diet based or activity based or work based, whatever it is. What's your process for trying to figure out, okay, this isn't helping. What are the steps I do to either make it so it is helpful or to cut it out and add something in that's helpful? Because I can tell you're what you started to do and what I started to do with Bite was trying to figure out we're trying to get to the root cause, right? Of why he's so different than our process, but similar, but at the same time different. So we're root causing him
Yeah.
by
Well, yeah, because
dissecting and picking
well,
him
it's just
apart.
because we use like a wider range of tools doesn't change the complexity of the job at the end of the day. You know, you could just think of it as like, he just needs a wider set of screwdrivers, but for your application, right?
My process is pretty much the same, I think, health wise, as I do on a regular. I mentioned this in a previous podcast where I'm a person who can look at a cube being the situation, whether it's my health or a technical issue, pull myself out of the cube and turn the cube over and look at it from different angles. And I often kind of try to find the path of least resistance. So my health wise, like right now, I'm not feeling the greatest. So I look at it and go, okay, well, what are my symptoms? What do I need? What can I do to better my health right now? Is it lifting my arms up? Is it making a hot tea? Is it like, what is it that's going to help me here? And I often implement the smallest things, smallest and quickest first. Oh, make a tea. Okay, boil water. Go get the honey. Go get the tea bag. Throw it in. And so on and so forth. And if that doesn't work, then you scale it up again. Then you go, okay, well, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? That's often what I do in my entire life.
I think kind of a little deeper on what I was asking. I didn't really explain it to you, but what's the process like? What's our threshold? Like when do we get to the point where we realize, hey, it's unhealthy? Do we wait for something so it escalates to the point where, and sickness we can't avoid, but like if we're doing an unhealthy habit that we think is a comfort thing and then it becomes unhealthy for us, at what point do we go, hey, maybe this isn't the greatest for me, whether it's time spent on something or a physical activity or something we're intaking? What's that threshold and how do we rate that? Like, what makes us get to that point? Is it I don't feel a little bit off or I feel terrible now? I should probably change something.
Hmm. Um, Unfortunately, well, I mean, maybe it's better, but because I'm so sensitive to stress, um, because I'm so sensitive to stress and food, I kind of have to like do micro corrections all the time. So like a major correction usually I have a hard time with my mood is usually I think the tipper is I just can't any that's when I'm that worn down, I guess, is I lose that control, emotion, not even just emotional control, but like just your brain's just tired. It's just going, huh. And I need to focus on something. Huh. I need to, have a proper emotional response to something that, is intentionally trying to trigger me and your brain just can't. Or even you really push the extreme to something isn't your style, you don't agree with something, and you really have a hard time um, playing the you pay your taxes, I pay my taxes kind of game, and you all of a sudden are offering advice where it's not even asked for because you want to see the problem changed, they don't. And so when I stop being able to understand the other side, I think that's like the first micro, and then once I really can't control my emotions and I start, okay, I'm not even happy anymore. I think it's time to redirect. And that's, I think, where my first thing goes. Time for the third sanctuary, garage it is. Let's go spend some time and unwind. And if that doesn't work, then it's walk and evolve. I think
And
that's,
I'm not even happy anymore statement is like, and then you look at it and go, why am I not happy about that? That's
yeah, and you've got
okay.
lots of gratitude. It's just your
Yeah.
gratitude is your gratitude is shadowed, is fogged out at that point, and you're like, I've got all these great things going on in my life and all this amazing stuff. I have this one little like 5 minute hiccup, and I can't control the 5 minutes of my 24 hours. I need to remove myself from said environment, said activity, and figure out some time to reflect and recharge.
For me, I have a check and balance. So I often check in with myself and be like, how do you feel today? Where are we? You know, looking at like head, shoulders, body, chest, feet. What hurts today? What doesn't hurt today? Are you emotionally okay? Like, where are you? How much can you, how much crap can you handle today? Do you have enough to go to the grocery store if you need to? Hardware store, whatever. Like right now, I'm kind of going, I have to go deal with my lawn. Do I have the energy for that today? Probably not. Am I going to try anyway? Maybe. Might leave it for Monday. We'll see.
So what about Jerry? Like, what if? So like my to pry that open a little further, do you have? So like, let's say you checked in with yourself. Do you have a way of noting that you've gone away from that check-in? Like that you've like, do you have a way of making sure that those checks, like that a day, the sporadic nature of a day won't figure out a way of overlapping with your checks and balances kind of thing. Do you understand what I'm asking?
No.
Okay, so you check in with yourself in the morning, everything's going well. How often do you check in with yourself throughout the day to remain stable?
So I've set the same time of when I eat is usually when I do my check-ins. So it's 3 times a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
So
So
then,
because I'm for my dietary needs, I'm forced into that same structure. So it's a good opportunity to take a deep breath and kind of run an evaluation while I'm eating, and being like, okay, where am I on the scales today? Then at lunchtime, am I still at the same spot or am I elevated? And then the same for dinner time. It's like, what can I do to bring those levels down if they are high? You know?
yeah, okay, so my second part to that question would be in between those check-ins, how would you know if like, you need to step back or, outside of the structure?
I haven't really needed to, so I don't know how to answer that. Usually I build up till lunchtime and then do some sort of release.
There's the answer right there, right? So that's you just kind of go till the next check-in to kind of,
Yeah.
but having that structure allows you're going to be able to deal with that thought
Yeah.
the next time you check
Exactly.
in with yourself. So there's still like a process.
Yeah. It's just not. It's interval. It's not immediate.
Yeah, you bottle. Yeah, you bottle, but that's whereas for me, I might be variable, right? So I might get to that point where before lunch, I might like, okay, I got to check in with myself. Like I'm just not able to be productive. But that also comes with different lifestyle and work style, right? You're in the middle of a job. You don't take lunch until a certain set time. You can't just walk away
Correct.
whenever you want. And that's why yeah, that's that's mainly my question is, imagine doing something at 11, you don't check in with yourself till 12. What do you do with yourself for that hour? And for you, you bottle. Whereas for me, I would get up and walk away. But that's a difference of ability. So my question is, how do you deal with that, the dad? Do you bottle or do you hit a threshold and then allow yourself to deal with it?
I'm kind of. I was still thinking about what Bite said, and kind of throwing something at him before I answer. What if your schedule, or you're traveling, or your eating schedule's thrown off by an outside factor, or you have company or something like that? And I'll let you think about it while I'm answering. But I walk away. I don't need a bottle because I'm in a situation where I've just become so flexible with stuff that, like, even if it's a job that I need to complete, I always see the benefit in stepping back. Same thing as my eating. I eat when I'm hungry. Sometimes I eat when I'm not hungry. I just eat because I see something I enjoy. Like, do I really need to eat that? Well, kind of right now because it looks really good. And maybe I don't eat as much if I was hungry. But yeah, as far as the work stuff as well, it's like it has a lot to do with the trying not to stress about stuff. Like, it's in the grand scheme of things, is it really that important? Uh, can it wait? Does it have to be done? Do I have to do it, or do I get to do it? So when you think about I get to do this a lot, it helps. In my mind it helps, and it's such a hard thing to consistently say to yourself, I have to go do this. No, I get to go do this, because it could be you don't get to do it. You don't have this. You don't have those options. So a lot of the times I look at stuff, even work, like a difficult job that I don't like. I get to do it. And I found that the more times that I say that to myself, and I have to practice saying it to myself, because in conversations, I have to do this job today. And then I think back, nah, I get to do that. And then that helps me not only with the job, but not stressing over the fact that it didn't go well if it doesn't. If I run into problems, well, I got to do it and I got to learn something. Not I had to do it and this broke. I find it helps so much just in thinking. That was part of the taking the stress out, and like I can eat whenever I want because of that. It helps. Like, I get to eat, and it's a simple, silly little thing, but if you actually say it and believe it, it does work depending on your personality and how you receive your inner thoughts. I think in my case, it's helped me a ton, and it's still every day you got to work at it.
Right on.
For me, I don't get a choice. I have a window of an hour between each meal. If I don't hit that threshold, like, serious consequences can occur for me. Um, and I've had to adapt with that, with my, like, how I work and stuff like that. So to answer your question, I don't get a choice. It's either 12 or 1 for lunch. It can't be 2. Like, it won't. I won't be able to physically function by 2 o'clock. Like, that's how important my meals are for my body. Like, I literally will shut down if I don't. So it's not a choice. I don't get to choose that. So it forced. That's why I chose to deal with the moments of the day at those same times, because they are so specific, um, in my day. It allows for, like, a hard, like, stop moment in my career, in my moment, in my brain, just to be like, okay, it's now 12. You're eating at 12:15. Great. 12:15, full release. Everything from 7:30 in the morning till 12:15, go. Now what do we have to focus on? Pretty sure that answered your question.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about food, environment. Um, in terms of health, what about recharging? Like when we're to relax, do we like recharging with people or recharging from people?
Um, how about no people? For
Oh,
me to fully
recharging
relax,
like
I like to isolate.
yeah, so from people. So you like recharging from like instead of with people, like without like having no people around. So from
Yeah,
people.
not to
Removing.
my friends' faults, but I always find that they take from me from energy, regardless if they mean to or not. So if I'm in a state that I really am low, like I often will isolate and hide from everyone so that I can recharge and then come back and kind of resurface. Be like, hey, I'm here, haha. You know?
Yeah.
Um, I often do that, and I'll kind of shy away and then come back. And my friends understand that. They know what it's about. They usually just send a simple text being like, thinking about you today. Like that's cool. But oftentimes that I find myself doing that.
What about you, Zen?
Well, that's where I just, you can get some. I've had some, you can look at situations like battery charging or battery draining. And I think we all have days where we can be a battery drainer and we can be a battery charger. So for me, sometimes I've got such an amount of energy, but I don't know what to do with it. But I need to find some way to deal with it. I could easily recharge with people. So I could be around, that includes like my live environment, and people will tell me like really on today and that. And that's where I feel like I'm a battery charger for people. And then there's other times where I feel like can't deal with people anymore. I'm not no more peopling. I'll kind of say to myself, and that's when I find I need to be more sensitive to that. But that's when I find I'm being a battery drainer. I think is the best way, and that's when I need to recharge away from people and kind of isolate and realize that the social circle isn't adding. It's still draining from me at that time whether it's intended or not by audience, community, friends, family, whatever, right? It's just it is what it is. Everyone's got their. So I think finding that balance for me between am I in a draining or charging situation, and then where I need to go. Sometimes you can't give from nothing, right? And that the part of that health part is knowing where to flip that switch, because I'm often, as what I do every day, we're naturally a battery charger, supposed to be anyhow, right? And so once you become to that draining part, how long do you stay before you need to isolate in order to recharge again? And I think that's a battle that I have a hard time drawing that line for myself.
I have a hard shut off for me. Once I get to like a certain percentage, um, like my signs, like I said earlier, being like a little snippy or sassy or whatever. Those are my signs like my battery's getting low. And it's like, okay, this has been fun. See you later. I'll see you tomorrow. Blah, blah, blah. Bye. you know,
Yeah, and that's usually my dip, right? Yeah, when that battery draining goes to the point where, lost emotional and emotional control, you're already physically tired, right? But you have no longer mental control of your situation as much as you'd love to. And you try to be that good person, you're just puh, right? Like I said before, the brain's just puh. You feel bad.
I've said yes to a lot of things lately that I never would have before, and that has to do with the not stressing part, or I get to, and it, like yesterday I had scheduled certain things to happen, and I was thinking this is going to take a lot of energy, this is going to take a lot of time, I have to be there for this person, and I also have to do all of these other things, so I prioritized spending time with that person, thinking that it was going to be a battery drainer, when that person ended up overflowing me with just an unbelievable amount of, like, my heart melted type feelings. It was just like, it was one of those left speechless days, and it was going in thinking something was going to be a certain way, and it ended up being completely different. And it's something that we talked about previously, going in with expectations and that causing anxiety. And it wasn't that it was causing anxiety or stress, it was a presumption on my part. And I guess we presume how things are supposed to go and how things are going to go, and we plan our energy and our days around that. And then sometimes, it turns the other way, and it sucks the life out of you just instantly. And you're like, oh, what am I going to do about the rest of this stuff? And you kind of power through it. But I found lately, even when I'm completely drained and I got nothing, instead of saying no, go into that situation anyways. And it's turned out like, maybe I'm going to hit the point where it turns out bad at some point, but every situation lately has turned out to have some benefit. Whether it was a negative outcome or a negative circumstance, the outcome has always been something positive that I took away from it, which I can carry into the next day or the next situation. And it's just like, it's a snowball. I don't know if I'm just having a lucky run or what, but like the amount of experiences that I've had like that lately, from not saying no and just taking that energy and going, well, I really got nothing left. Hold on, let me see what I got in the kitchen sink, and just bringing that over and go, okay, let's do it. And then I end up with this like truckload full of stuff after. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. What do I do with it? And it's just like, I don't know. And that's that get to, got to attitude type thing. And it's like, you hear people say, you get out what, like, you get back what you give out. And it's, I never thought, I like, to certain extents, but it's just come back so much more. And it's unbelievable. And every time it happens, it just kind of like, it blows my mind. I don't ever want it to not blow my mind, like, I want it to be that way every time it happens. I don't want it to be normal, like, oh, I expected that, because then I'm back to where I was before, right? If I give this, I should get that. Always give without expectation. And it's like, you try not to presume that it's going to be a certain way, but because you've been there, it's hard not to. Or because you've been around that person. So how do you recharge? And it's like, recharge with people or away from people. And it's like, it's very situational. I expected that I'd be empty and exhausted at the end of yesterday. I had so much energy, I didn't know what to do with myself. I did a live last night, and I'm like, okay, I need to shut down. Like, I have to be here this morning. And that went on for hours and hours in my head. I need to shut down. But yeah, um, I'm finding more and more it's with people I need to recharge. Because when I'm by myself, I run into it's a different recharge.
Like you get in your own head.
It's kind of like a calming. It's not even a charge or drain situation, I think, with myself. It's like I don't know, it's just like a quiet. And then with people, I find like, also draining, but I feel like it's been more recharge than drain lately.
I like that though, because I mean, recognizing naturally, right? Recognizing what works for us. So like for me, like I don't really like calm down. Like I don't. I might find a sense of calm not around people just because of the chaos and the noise is gone, but I actually find that time to. I like sometimes getting into my own head because I'm curious sometimes what's the loudest thought in my head, and you can't really hear that when you're around people, because for example, recharging with people for me, what's wrong, what are you thinking about, what's going on, and sometimes you want to keep that internal. So if for me, if I had to choose, I'd recharge away from people, not with people. I
Mhm.
think that would be, my if I had to choose an on off, right, it would be away, I think.
I only have one person that if I'm in a low state, that I would accept communication from. Because often I find after talking with this person, like we'll talk for hours sometimes, that we both end up getting a benefit from the call. Like we get calm, understanding, maybe not necessarily more energy, but not less. Um, and that person has been the only person in my life that's been able to do that. Not even my own partner. I
Hmm.
find that I need to seclude um, just to be able to just start the energy process. Um, but with one person, I'm able to do the charge and talk and communicate. So I find that really interesting because out of my entire life, there's only been one person
Huh.
that I actually didn't mind being around being in a low state.
Hmm. That's important. That's definitely important. That's good to have.
It's rare. I've not had that up until this point. So
Hmm.
rather interesting that you brought that topic up because it made me reflect on that.
Yeah. Do you have anyone like that, the dad? Is there like a one a staple outside of get I'll say it this way, like outside of given family, chosen and given family, but it's more on the chosen side, like.
I think unexpectedly, yeah, I do, and yeah, and it's difficult because I've been struggling to figure out certain things like as we do, like people we should have in our lives and what's healthy and what's not healthy, who drains more, who fills up. But this is a I think I've figured out who as a staple I need in my life because it's been I think I'm at that point where I need that again because I used to have that and then that went away. Like if it's outside immediate like immediate family, then yeah, I I think I think I do have that.
And
Eh,
to be fair, I don't even have some of my family members I can't even talk to
oh
when
no,
I'm in
no,
that state because they're just drainers,
yeah,
you know. So to say family versus non-family, I don't think that's fair because like me, I can't talk to my parents. I can't talk to them when I'm in that state because they drain me too, you know.
yeah. I think my daughter for me is that in my family because the rest of my family is it's a hit and miss. My daughter is just a even if she's having a tough time, it's a it's like a warm hug. Like she's my sunshine for a reason, and like I'm her safe place too. So it's 100% mutual if she's ever in a spot. And I know that time is coming where I'm replaced by her partner as that comfort spot, which is amazing, but she's still mine in the family. Um, but outside, yeah, I, I think I've found that, so it's a good thing. It's progress. How about you, Zen?
Um, I have I have a few people. I have a few people that I'm fortunate enough. Um, they have that same. I think part of the reason this works with the few people is because it really is like a two-way street, and it's like a highway, not even just like a street. It's like some days, um, and even like some days, hours, whatever the time period can go by really, really fast, but it doesn't really like change much. And so these people and myself both have that where it's always going to be a safe place. And I, I, I can touch with both of you on that when, you know, when you're communicating, with them, one can be low, one can be high, both can be low, both can be high, but both people always find a way of pulling the good parts of the energies, the conversation, um, life battles, directions, and the commonalities, right? And not just the commonalities of where you are in life, but usually vision is usually my big thing because we all have factors in our life that pull us away from our peace. And so being able to have that contact with a person at the very least, I think is important because finding, I think that the word I'm going after and the key word that stands out in my mind is peace because you can say anything, anything can happen. There's a lot of scenarios, right? That'll range, and you can bring that up, and you can. It's a really a safe space, so it allows you to mellow differently than recharging. It's like a pause. You don't need to drain your battery. No longer drains. Your battery no longer charges, and it's like you don't even have to worry about the charge. I think that's like almost like the signifying difference between politely between those people that are your close friends and those people that are like your people, like your staples in your life. I think that's an important piece of that. Where I have a last question for all of you guys as we get is how do you know you found that peace? Like how would you guys describe, you know, is it a physical, emotional, all of them? How would you describe your way of recognizing that you're at peace?
You know that saying of like the weight has been lifted off your chest or your shoulders? For me would be that. When I'm at my peace, it's usually feel like the weight has just been lifted.
Okay. What about your mind?
That can vary. Um, I always find my mind to be in an on state. So it's almost like it doesn't even know where the off switch is.
Okay.
It's been like that pretty much all my life. So I don't really know how to respond with that.
That is a response. What about you, the dad?
Still working on it. Goes back to that warm hug, I think. that peace and quiet's hard to come by, right? I think we all have a lot of stuff going on in our heads a lot, so finding that quiet is very tough. So finding that person or that thing that we can have around us that calms it without actively trying to calm it. It's that presence, either visual or auditory, when you hear that person's voice or you see them, and it just kind of.
But what about like you? Not about what is actually calming, but how would you describe when you yourself have found peace?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. It's
So
that
for
that warm hug feeling that you just that like your heart's full and you're okay. Like you're not racing through your thoughts. I think you're not
for
thinking.
like a calm mind.
Yeah, you're not thinking this is all the stuff that I did. This is what I need to do. This is what about this person? What the list of stuff around the house. The what do I need to do at work? And chaos ensues. Um, chilling with the dogs like that. That's a huge thing. Like Bites dogs just came in, but it's like that's one of the big things too, right? You get to sit and chill with. That's unconditional right there. That's just like that helps. That's that peace, right? When you have everything shut off and it's calm, there's no noise, and there's just like this warm hug. And if someday you find that from a person, some days it's a spot, other days it's dogs. Every day it's dogs, but like or cats or whatever pets you have, right? But I think it's that the safe place comes in so many different forms, and it's. I think that's that calm. That's where I find the peace.
For me, I notice sometimes even with my heart rate, I very like feel um like I go from the world going a mile a minute to I'm not really sure my heart's beating anymore. And that's how I kind of know my heart rate really falls. I think that goes back into the calm chest feeling. Um, I often I often have quite I often have quite just with my own with my own health. It's often that I don't get a good gut feel when I should, because my guts can be affected by so many different factors in life. So I think part of that, I have to recognize a little bit different signals because I never really feel like calm. And even right now, I'm relaxed, everything's great, but I have a constant weird pressures and feelings in my guts that normally don't wouldn't occur in a normal situation. So I've had to adapt kind of like what makes me feel or what allows me to recognize peace. And I think that's one big thing is my heart and my chest. That ability when you exhale to not feel something continue to like push that. I guess it comes back to a bit what Bite said. No weight once you've let all the air out of your lungs, or if you hold your breath, there's nothing pushing the air back out.
Exactly.
There's a lot to be said about the learning process, right? It's. I think a lot of it is perspective and how we look at it. I have to learn this because it's affecting me in a certain way, or I get to learn it because it's a fun journey. Like I think we get so stuck up in all of the things that we have to do every day, that it's overwhelming and it causes stress and it affects everything, that we don't look at it like it's a friggin' adventure. Like everything is an adventure. The good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, like it's all an adventure, and it's so amazing. Like you talk about your dietary stuff, and my son growing up, similar issues. Allergic to everything under the sun, couldn't eat anything, couldn't even have baby formula because of what was in it. And trying to figure that out, so stressful. Like, and it was such a thing. And then after so many years of doing it, I'm like, whoa, cool. We get to go to different food shows. Like, just tried to change a little bit so it wasn't so daunting and constant all the time. Like, can't even imagine how he felt all the time, not being able to have all the things that he loves. But it tried to instill in him that it's an adventure to find out the new things that he can have and the exploration with it. And he learned to, love trying new things, because before it was, I don't want to try new things. And, I don't want to worry about how it affects me. But like now he's 100%. Like I had him on my live cooking with me, and he's trying all this stuff that he knew he probably shouldn't have, and he's going to pay for it later. But he's like, hey, let's find out. It looks really yummy, and it was my idea. I'm like, cool, let's try it. But I mean, like, the symptoms and stuff are a little less than they used to be now that he's a bit older. But it was that shift in mindset. Whereas, I don't want to try it because I know what's going to happen, to I don't actually know what's going to happen because this isn't the same as before, and I'm not the same as before. Let's see what happens. Let's have some fun along the way, and like figuring out what to get and how to cook it and all that stuff. It was super cool to see. And I think if we look at stuff like that more often, it might help. Just a thought.
Yeah. Do you guys have any closing statements or like questions or?
I think that was mine.
That's fair. What are you, Bite?
Um, my closing statement is going to be more like, just remember that you are a human being, that you are a person, that you have emotions, you have feelings, you're allowed to have them, whether they're positive and uplifting or neutral, negative, whichever. How you display them to the world and how you output them is what really matters, right? You can say, "Hey, I'm having a bad day," and still be generally happy, right? And you can still communicate and talk with people, um, you know, and how you portray that is super important. And just to remember that others might be having a bad day too. In the back of your mind, you should always be thinking about that. What's your other person you're talking with? Did they have a good day? Do you know? If you don't know, then stay neutral. It's the only thing I'd like to add to that was just to remember that.
Yeah, and then just to close to, I think like the one thing is just for me to remember and for everybody else, but to do with, caring for yourself, whether it is physical, diet, mental, um, to just not worry so much about those times about the guilt of doing nothing. Sometimes doing nothing and getting to that next minute, 5 minutes, hour is an accomplishment on its own, and that may help. I think a lot of us with that recharging process, that care process, because part of caring is lowering, even temporarily, your expectations for that time period, to allow yourself to feel good enough, because that there's always going to be a battle to disconnect from the ever moving world. And so removing yourself from any guilt for that short amount of time to say, hey, I need this time. Not even about I deserve or want or, I need this time. And I think it's going to be important that we all make sure that we remember it's all for the long run too. So that term moderation, is a big, I think is a big thing to remind yourself. And part of that is allowing yourself to disconnect from those tasks and things in your day.
I think that's awesome.
That wraps it up, I think, everybody.
I agree.
Yep.
Love it. Well, all right, everybody, have a great week.
Take
Smile.
care, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Feel
See you
better.
next week.
Smiles, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.